This time on Railroad Australia. One man and one massive train battle through unforgiving iron ore country.
Feel the loco now. It's like he's trying to rip the track up to keep going, isn't it?
In rainforest-covered mountains, 120-year-old technology
Doors red on.
takes on some of the toughest and steepest terrain on the continent. And it's mind-mapping madness as extreme rail enthusiasts tackle Sydney's train network.
There's over 100 million different ways you can do this.
They are the kings of the Australian outback.
You've got to concentrate all the time.
Some of the biggest trains in the world.
If things go wrong with these things, it normally makes a big mess.
On epic journeys
It's a bomb on wheels.
through a hostile continent.
Holy crap! Have a look at all this water.
A nation depends on them.
Oh, go boys, get into it.
And the teams that keep these metal monsters on the tracks. Hauling huge loads of food, freight and mineral riches across incredible distances.
We are out in the middle of nowhere, that's for sure.
Big trains,
It'll be a massive challenge to us.
big country.
No one's ever done it. We'll see how we go.
The Pilbara, Western Australia. For Jeff Wilson, dawn brings another day at the office.
We're going to go out to the mines. It might be a bit of a wet trip. There's a bit of rain around up there, going up through the hills. So it might be a bit of a longer day than normal.
But Jeff's workstation is at the front of one of the longest trains in the world.
I like it because you're outside, you're doing your own thing, you're your own boss, and it's the office sort of thing, really. It's yeah, little desk, but, you know, it's all good.
Jeff's been driving trains for over 30 years. It began as a childhood dream.
When I was, about 3 or 4, me and my brother was walking through the railway station there at Chinchilla, and there was some blokes there. You could see the mateship there. You know, they were working in together, they were having a good time, and all of a sudden I thought that's what I want to do when I get older. You know, like it's really great. That's why I made a career out of it.
But it comes with huge responsibility. Jeff must be physically and mentally sharp at all times.
I just signed on the safety sheet, just read all the documents and that, and now just going to do a breath test. And it's a 0. So.
Jeff works for Fortescue Metals Group. Just 9 years ago, they blasted their way into the iron ore industry. But to do it, they had to build their own state-of-the-art, multi-billion-dollar railroad. Now, to pay back this massive investment and turn a profit, 2.7-kilometre trains roll down this line, each hauling up to 37,000 tonnes of ore. And they do it all day, every day. Jeff will be driving an empty train from Port Hedland 290 kilometres into the desert to be loaded with ore from the open-cut mines. Apart from steep grades and brewing thunderstorms, Jeff must stay alert to anything that could halt his progress.
You could have a broken rail or anything like that. You know, you hit cows and they go under and they knock hoses off, so you've got to go out and pull it all out.
Jeff will need all of his experience to avoid delays on this run to the mine. For Fortescue, an efficient railway is essential in a multi-billion-dollar game of tight margins.
Hopefully it takes about 6 or 7 hours, you know, because if it's real windy, these are like a big blanket, you know, they slow you right down. If it's raining, you're going slower.
But before he can get started, Jeff has a problem.
So there's no electric braking at the moment. One of the cables must be apart or broken or something. It's like if you had an electric cord and you cut it. It's the same sort of thing. There's no power going right through. So we just got to look for the fault and then fix it.
The goal is to stay on time. This is not the start Jeff was hoping for. West Coast Range, Tasmania. A beautiful but dangerous wilderness.
That was the bridge. Been a lot of water go through to wash that bridge down.
West Coast Wilderness Railway is in the business of getting people in and out of this remote, impenetrable rainforest using vintage steam engines, one more than 100 years old.
Because of our harsh conditions and our elevation we have out on track, anything can happen.
With gaping ravines and claustrophobic cutouts, it's not for the faint-hearted.
It's basically a wet weather jungle.
A single line runs through the forest and the mountain range between Queenstown and Strawn. Just keeping it open and safe is a full-time operation led by Bogger and his maintenance team. Every day they head out before light in a specially modified truck that can run on road and rail.
We'll do the run-through before the train. We have to make it safe for our passengers and safe for our personnel.
With safety a priority, Bogger and his crew stop at each station to test the equipment.
Duty supervisor, this is Ronaldina Station. Can I have a radio check, please? Just do a radio check for safety reasons, just in case we've got one of our passengers or someone's ill, so we've got communication. Our responsibility is all the track, lip sites, or any hazards we have this morning, which can happen at any time.
While Bogger and his team continue to check the track,
Hold out there.
2 trains laden with passengers are already on their way from either end of the line. ABT Loco number 5 out of Strawn with Barry Walding working the steam. ABT Loco number 1 leaving Queenstown is driven by Bob Smith. The single track was carved out of the wilderness in 1894. For the trains to pass each other, they must rendezvous at a central rail loop. Staying on schedule is critical.
If you can keep that timing up, it works beautifully. As soon as you get a little bit behind, it can all go very quickly.
With the trains already on the move, Bogger needs to finish his inspection and give the all clear. But up ahead...
Oh no, we've got a tree down, boys. You're gonna have to get this sorted pretty quick.
First stop, Europa, then Regent's Park, Birrong, Yagoona, Bankstown, and then all stations to Sydney.
So I've done this a bit, can't you?
Sydney. 5 million people, connected by the largest, most complex metropolitan rail system in Australia.
350 odd trains in the morning peak hour, and we control them from this room.
1 million passengers every day. 2,191 rail cars making 3,252 timetabled trips.
If everything runs on time, we don't have a lot to do. If everything runs really late, quite often there's not a lot we can do.
Most are simply grateful it gets them to work. But there are some who wish to conquer it. These men are all extreme railway enthusiasts. Beginning and ending at Central, they will attempt to travel by train to all 178 stations that make up the Sydney network in one day.
It's like running a marathon, and you're not running a marathon, you're going on trains all day. It's still tiring, it still hurts.
We do it for the same reason that men climb mountains, because it's there.
Transport Officer John is the ever-cool veteran of the game.
This gig has been around longer than my lifetime, and the first time I tried it, I was 15.
Database consultant Colin is the champ and record holder at 15 hours, 54 minutes and 14 seconds.
I've put together a computer program, a simulation of all the train timetables, and I set that going for several days, several nights. Probably there's over 100 million different ways you can do this.
And then there's web developer Ben, the young pretender.
I am a religious user of the real-time apps, and I just fiddle with TripView and say, hey, I could go here, I could go there, I could go elsewhere.
Not only are they racing each other, They're all chasing a new record time.
The drive to keep going is you might have your name at the top of the Facebook group for a long time if you set a new record time.
The rules are simple.
Must stop at all stations at least once.
We take photos of certain train stations to show that you're actually on the route.
And that's the gist of it.
The task is enormous.
It takes a lot of preparation, and you also need to be quick on your feet.
It's a test of planning, it's a test of persistence and stamina.
It's all well and good to say, hey, I have a plan, but what happens if the network melts down?
I have heard of the All Stations Challenge. It's something that's been done for quite some time now. If I had any advice to give to the people that were attempting this challenge, I'd say, don't do it.
Here I am, 5:12 in the morning.
Pre-dawn at Sydney's Central Station, and the marathon meets puzzle is about to begin.
Today I'm going to try and get a record time. This will be my third attempt at doing this.
Each competitor has a different plan, leaving from separate platforms.
I'm ready, I'm kitted up, I've got my plan, I'm going to platform 23 for my first train.
Will the record be broken? Who will be crowned All Stations champion?
Now we're about to take off. We'll see how we go. 17:36, he left early.
In the far northwest,
Hopefully we can find it and fix it.
Jeff has a problem with his electric braking system
So it's a great start.
and risks missing his scheduled pathway to the mine.
Right, you're going to switch.
The service team have found a faulty carriage link and will now reset the system.
So he's pushed the button and reset it, and it's all come good now. So we've got electronic brakes all the way through the train now. It's like waking it up. A bit like us, we have a coffee in the morning, we need that to wake up, you know.
At last, Jeff sets off, but he's 20 minutes behind schedule.
Right, so we'll start our journey from the port to the mine. Hopefully it all goes according to plan.
He heads out onto a flat desert plain and into an ancient landscape. But if Jeff is hoping to make up time, he has another thing coming.
There's a loaded train coming towards us. That's us there, and that's him there. 714. It takes a few kilometres to stop this train. Because we're going to stop, then it takes time again to get it going again. So we just sit here and wait now for this train to cross. We'll give him a roll by, make sure he's all complete, there's nothing dragging. No, it's all running through there smoothly, nothing hanging down. We'll be off again in a minute as soon as I get the road here clear, which there, we just got the road now. We got the green line, so we'll start taking off. Takes a bit to get the old girl going. We're all a bit like that when we get older, aren't we? Takes a bit more motivation, a bit more oil.
Before Jeff can even get his 2.7 kilometre train up to speed again,
we're going to have another stop up here as well. Another delay, 10 or 15 minutes. This train coming now, it's got about 37,000 tonne on it. It's like a never-ending train, isn't it? It's just, especially when you're waiting for it to go past.
only an operation on this scale could create a traffic jam in the middle of the desert.
I know, we're crossing another train. Here comes an FMG work train. That's more delays. That's going to blow our schedule right out for a while.
For now, Jeff's plan to make up time is heading nowhere. Back in Tasmania, West Coast Wilderness's two fully booked trains are on the same track, heading toward each other from opposite ends. In between them is Bogger and the maintenance crew, with a problem that could jeopardise the whole operation.
Got a little tree down, got a train coming. We're going to have to get this sorted pretty quick. Paul, we've got a tree down at the 27,300. Any chance of bringing the excavator in, mate?
But getting an excavator here will take time, and time is their enemy. This unique rail journey dissects some of the wildest country in Tasmania. The track is at the mercy of the elements. But dangers also lie on the train. Loco number 5 is chugging its way up the first of many steep sections out of Strawn.
Big one.
Barry needs to keep a close eye on the water level gauge. Allowing it to get too low could spell disaster.
The most important gauge on the whole locomotive, because if you haven't got water in your boiler, you've got a bomb. And the motto is that if the water falls too low, you take steps, big ones, in the opposite direction. It's not a good place to be when they go.
Up the line, the excavator arrives. Bogger and the boys snap into action.
The plan is we're going to get Paul to hold it with the digger. We'll cut it off at the base. We'll get rid of it pretty quick because we've got a train coming. You don't want to hold the passenger train up if we can help it.
Loco number 1 is getting closer.
Yeah, some of the areas are a bit poor in visibility. We have nuts and odd tree here and there just round the bend.
We're on a tight curve here, so you'd come around the corner and he'd be onto it pretty quick.
This is the plan I'm hoping to do today. Plan number 1,791,392.
Early morning in Sydney. The All Stations Challenge is off and racing. So far, there's no clear leader.
Here we go with the windage change.
The name of the game is to find a route with the least number of connections and the shortest time between them.
Anything in red is 2 minutes or less. Glenfield, that'll be the first challenge. Unfortunately, if I don't make Glenfield, I lose at least an hour.
Miss a connection or get caught in a delay, and the knock-on effect can destroy your chances of winning.
You've got about 4 minutes between the time that this train leaves and the other one arrives.
In order to beat the current record, now you've got to take a few more risks. So the plans have very short changeovers, and you need a fair bit of luck to be able to make them.
It looks like Ben's luck has already run out. His next train is a no-show. Approaching Glenfield Station, record holder Colin is also in trouble.
Okay, we're on our way back from Leppington now. You can see I'm monitoring the actual train.
His connecting train is arriving a mere 30 seconds ahead of schedule, but it could be enough to leave him stranded.
That's the one that we've tried twice and failed twice, and it's the Achilles heel in this plan. Time to warm up the legs.
Miss this, and he'll be scrambling to find a plan B.
Still going to be a sprint.
He only has 1,791,392 options to choose from.
It's a ballast train, like I said. They're taking that down to the port to do up the tracks down to the port.
In the Pilbara, after a slow start and with almost 300 kilometres still ahead, Jeff's behind schedule to get 250 ore wagons filled.
So he's giving us the road now. We're right to get going, try and make up this time that we've lost.
There's traffic assaulting him from the front and the rear.
Because we crossed them 2 trains there as well, we've got another train behind us and he wants to get up the mines as well. But he can only move when we move ahead of him, so hopefully I'll get a straight run and then he'll be able to keep going as well, so we're not stopping all the time.
Jeff must remain vigilant. There's 40-degree heat outside, steep mountains ahead, and a trainload of ore to be loaded.
You're out here all the time, you sort of forget how far away you are from really civilization, you know? You know, if we break down out here and, you know, and we've lost power, we've got no air conditioners, so you're in the Pilbara, this is summer, it's very hot, you know, turn into a sauna. That's why we bring plenty of water here, you know, get stranded. You know, if you have washaways and you are stuck here, well, there's not much you can do it until people come out and get you out of this environment, you know.
For safety and efficiency, the track itself has inbuilt monitors.
Where we are coming up to now is it's a hot wheel detector, and what it does is picks up if there's dragging brakes on the wheels or problems like that. It pick up hot bearings, you know, and it lets us know through the radio.
A delay here will blow his schedule for good. But he's in luck. The train gets through with no alarms raised.
That'll put us closer to getting to the right time than would have been before if we would have stopped.
But the toughest part of the line is still to come. The Chichester Ranges.
We're about 125 k's into the trip, which is nearly halfway. This is probably the hardest part of the whole trip, really, for the locos. This is where they're really going to have to work to try and get us through the hills, you know, without failing or anything like that. There's clouds building up. That could make it a bit weird going up and slipping and that going up through the Chichesters. That could delay our time a little bit, put us back behind the 8 ball.
With trains queuing up and the mines desperate to offload, Jeff can't afford to be late. On the rugged west coast of Tasmania, Bogger and his crew are still racing to clear a fallen tree, while the two steam engines converge from opposite directions.
We do have trees that fall down the track. We've got to stop and clear them to get our train through. Yeah, it just becomes an occupational hazard.
Passenger safety is paramount. Some of the cuttings are so narrow, precautions have to be taken.
People don't realise until they're on the train how restrictive it is for safety, because some of the cuttings are literally a few inches away from each carriage, but also, you know, some of our gorges are 65 metres, so that's when we really need to be on our toes and keep an eye on the doors and everything.
Loco number 5 is already at the rendezvous point. The passengers stretch their legs while Barry mans the points, waiting to see if the other loco will get through.
Cut that off.
Further up the mountain, the track maintenance team work feverishly to clear the track.
Get them all up and take them all away. Good. Hopefully we haven't held the train up. So you come around the corner, so lucky, we've got onto it.
Bogger moves his team into a siding, and with the track clear, Loco 1 can arrive at the crossover station.
Beautiful. Change points so that we can get out of the way of the oncoming train. Not a good idea to have two trains in opposite directions on the same track.
The two journeys can continue, taking the passengers deeper into the wilderness. These locos were built in Glasgow, Scotland, then shipped here to carry ore from a copper mine in Queenstown to Strahan. Keeping these ageing trains safely on the tracks is the job of Mark Lowcock.
If it got to a stage where there was stranded passengers, it would not look really good for the company.
Today, Mark has received a puzzling message concerning Loco 1.
They had to carry an extra carriage to take two people on because got two seats short of one carriage because somebody pinched the seat. How do you walk out of a carriage with a seat under your arm and nobody notices?
But there's more pressing work to be done. Mark and his team head for Strahan to service Loco number 1 when it arrives. This has to be done before it makes its return journey.
We don't have much time to do it, so we are working flat out while we're there. Hopefully there's no surprises for us when we do get down there.
But there is a surprise waiting for them in Strahan.
Sit and wait.
No train.
It puts a fair bit of pressure on us because we only have a certain amount of time before the train has to get turned around and go back out again, so every minute it runs late, that's one less minute we've got to do the work.
In Sydney, the 3 extreme train enthusiasts are competing hard to catch trains to every station on the network in the fastest time. All Stations champ and record holder Colin is scrambling to make a connection early in his master plan. Miss this one, and he'll have no chance of beating the other competitors, let alone his own record. But veteran racer John, who happens to be on the inbound train,
we're going to have success with Colin. Congratulations.
Yes, I made it.
decides to lend a hand, making sure the train doesn't leave without him.
Hello, John.
Good morning, Colin.
Good morning.
Take a seat.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Across town, the young pretender Ben is off to a bad start.
So here we go. I've been here about 8 minutes. The train in front of me was late.
Competitors need to deal with the ever-changing conditions of the network, including days that have unexpected traffic flows.
Morning commuter time, but there are many less people here than there would normally be at this time.
And they must remember that the Network Command Centre can play God at any moment.
If the train's in excess of 3 minutes late, it becomes a matter of managing it through the network, changing lines it's timetabled on, altering the stopping pattern of the service, or it could be terminating the train, clearing the system so that we maintain the health of the other trains in the network.
Despite his slow start, Ben is still in the race.
Welcome to Barara, where it's actually drizzling. I'm on time still.
But he now faces one of the toughest connections on the map, Epping Station.
This is either going to go really good or really bad.
The players call it Mount Epping. Colin conquered it earlier.
There's the platform right down the bottom. You've got a very long escalator and then a second escalator, and you have 1 minute to get up.
But Ben's path is blocked.
Oh, there's a lot of school kids here.
Miss this connection and Ben's race will be run.
Come up through the middle of them mountains there, and that's where we find out whether the locos are up for the task or not.
Jeff's about to tackle the Chichester Rangers in a 2.7 kilometre train.
Well, you can see a semi coming down off the highway now, coming towards the crossing that we're coming to. Looks like he's going to get there before us.
But first, he has a road crossing to deal with.
Which is on a blind corner. They get a warning sound anyway to let them know that we're approaching, but we can't see what's coming across in front of us until we actually get there.
For train drivers, level crossings are always a concern. They must rely on the modern signalling systems, but also on the truck drivers being equally alert. Hitting a truck would be catastrophic for its driver and potentially derail the train, putting Jeff in grave danger.
And, you know, hopefully there's no trucks going through in front of us, because that always puts the hairs up on the back of your neck, you know, until you get through it.
The warning system is rock solid, and the semi safely waits for the train to pass.
And now we're starting to go up the hill now through the gorges. We'll see how the locos perform. Would have taken a lot of time to do this, like blowing it up, dynamiting it and stuff. And look how steep it is, how much they had to cut away. Like, if it's not worth it, they wouldn't have done it, you know.
Jeff now has a 5 kilometre climb, pulling 5,000 tonnes of empty wagons. A battle for any loco, even ones with over 4,000 horsepower.
This is where you feel them starting to work now. You know, we've gone from 80 kilometres now, we're down to 30 already. You know, we're only the start of the hill. Everything's starting to warm up, traction motors and engine temperature. Every K we go, we lose a few kilometres an hour. If it was drizzling rain here, you can see how much of a struggle it would be.
Fail here, and Jeff will need extra locos to get him moving again, blocking the line, blowing out the schedule.
No, we've still got about 3K to go to the top of it, and we've already, in 1K, we've lost 9 kilometres an hour. This is the hill, the grade we're coming up, like a 2% grade, and it's getting steeper.
With the summit in reach, the train fights on.
You can feel it, you can feel the loco now. It's like it's trying to rip the track up to keep going, isn't it?
In Strawn, Mark and his steam train service team are waiting for loco number 1 to arrive.
1:05 now, and they leave at 2:15, so it's a little bit less time.
Every minute the train is late, their short window to complete the work is rapidly closing. While Loco 1 is behind schedule, Loco 5 is steaming towards the steepest section of the track. To climb the mountain, the 50-ton train needs help. It comes in the form of a rack and pinion system, designed in 1836. The loco has a cogged wheel that drops down and meshes with a central toothed rail to help haul the train up the hill. But the mountain is taking its toll. The engine is running hot, enough to turn the fire door glowing red.
Door's red hot. My fire's doing something right.
For Barry and his passengers, it's a slow journey. The upside? breathtaking views.
Doesn't get a lot better. It doesn't get a lot better.
The loco limps into one of the stations. Time for Barry to give the veteran engine a well-earned drink.
The three most useless things on a steam loco: the water you haven't got, the fuel you haven't got, the steam you haven't got.
She's just starting to come round the corner right now. Here she comes.
Back in Strawn, finally loco number 1 arrives. But for Mark and his team, the 75-minute turnaround time has shrunk to only 20. The first job: replace the mysterious missing seat.
There it is. Eventually we'll find the other one. It's got to be around here somewhere.
Next, the all-important carriage brakes.
Need one brake pad there.
Replacing the brake pads is routine, but it's difficult and dirty work. Each of the 3 carriages have 8 pads. That's 24 that have to be checked or replaced, and time is running out.
The schedule's starting to get a bit tight now, but I only got one more carriage to do after this one, so hopefully everything's be done in time.
The passengers are ready to board. It's time to get going. But Mark has a problem.
This is not quite settling in. I'll try putting it in again. This wasn't supposed to happen.
In Sydney, the All Stations Challenge is heating up.
When I got to Wapping, I thought, oh, there's a lot of school kids here.
To catch a connecting train and stay in the game, Ben has just 1 minute to scale 2 mountainous escalators.
So I sort of had to push through them all and make it up the escalator.
If he fails, it's goodbye to his dreams of victory.
So if I fall on those stairs, like I have done once before, I will miss that train. Hey, look, I made it. Life is good.
That's 31 stations for Ben, just 147 to go. Reigning champ Colin is moving faster. He continues to play hard, going for the tightest connections possible. Meanwhile, mastermind John is close behind Colin and keeping a close eye on him.
G'day, John.
Hey Colin, you're on your way back to Cabramatta?
Yes.
Looks like you're going to be in luck. The train that you need at Cabramatta, I'm on that one, and we've been slightly delayed.
Oh, that'll make it easy for me. For my 1 minute changeover.
I'll see you there. And there he is.
John's keen to share information.
There are 2 3-minute delays in all the trains coming out of Campbelltown. That's going to mean 2 3-minute delays coming out of the city.
While Colin doesn't give much away.
Might be something that hits us a little bit later.
Well, City.
Well, good luck.
The competitors go their separate ways, but on the very next train, Colin is suddenly battling to stay in the game.
And we're just coming into Central now, and my train is still sitting there. So there's still a chance. The door's shut. There it is. And I've missed it, so I've got to switch to the backup plan.
And now, the ever-cool veteran John is also running into trouble.
Yeah, that was the one I needed to get back to Homebush. Looks like 15 minutes out of my program now. Might have to mean some replanning.
He's not alone in his despair.
Well, I made it to Richmond. Unfortunately, I missed the connection at Strathfield for Flemington, so we've got to backtrack for that. So I'm now half an hour behind.
With half the race still to go.
Stand back until people are off the train, please, buddy.
Frustration is mounting.
We're on the top of the gorge now, but we've still got to get the 3 kilometres of train over the hill yet, and it's still working really hard.
Jeff and his 4,000 horsepower locos are slowly winning the battle to pull a 2.7 kilometre ore train up a crippling gradient.
It's a struggle, but we've picked up 1 kilometre an hour, so that's a blessing. So once the rest of the train gets out, it'll be even better. We'll get back up to track speed then.
At last, he's up.
He's got a couple more of these hills to go yet, so this will give her a good workout and see if she's running all right, eh?
The huge, powerful locos are working overtime in 40-degree heat. Now the train tackles the second hill.
We're down to 27 kilometres an hour. We're nearly at the top. We've lost about 50 kilometres an hour just on this hill alone.
Good fortune has kept the rain away, but as Jeff battles the third gradient, on the horizon, another threat.
There's a fire over there in the distance. It's a bit strange having a fire out here when it's all so green at the moment, isn't it?
Fires are common due to lightning strikes. Careful monitoring means a train is halted long before a fire is close enough to do damage, and for good reason.
If it gets out of control and burns towards us, well, you know, the grass comes right up to the track. The hoses could, between the wagons, could get melted from the heat. You know, that could cause a lot of complications for us. A bit away from us now anyway, so that's a good thing. We can keep carrying on without worrying about it too much.
Jeff's finally on the home run.
Locos are over the top, so he's starting to pick up speed again slowly, so that's a good thing. We're going to get there on time after all.
After an epic 300-kilometre journey, hauling 5,000 tonnes and 250 wagons, at last, Jeff arrives at the mine.
We've actually got a minute to spare, actually, so it's been really good. We didn't think we were going to get here on time, but it's amazing. And so, yeah, it's my job nearly done now, so it's nearly the end of the day. So that got to make you happy, doesn't it?
But tomorrow, he must make the 300-kilometre journey back to port. This time, loaded with 37,000 tonnes of train-breaking iron ore. On the mountain track in Tasmania, Loco number 5 is taking a well-deserved rest on its way to Queenstown.
Got a nice warm scones and we're on the move.
Meanwhile, in Strahan, there's no rest for Mark, who's struggling against the clock to replace the carriage's brake pads.
The timeline's getting a bit tight. We've still got this last carriage to do. We've got to shut the generator down before we can get underneath it. We are cutting it fine, but we've got 10 minutes to go.
Passengers are waiting to board, but they and Loco number 1 won't be going anywhere until the brake servicing is completed. And Mark has hit a snag that could hold up the whole operation.
This wasn't supposed to happen. Just having a little bit of trouble getting the shoe into the cradle, but I'll try putting it in again.
The seconds tick by as Mark struggles with the brake pad. The passengers have begun to board.
Get another one there. I'll swap try another shoe. That's better. Yep, done. Okay.
Time to give the green light.
All right, we're going now. We're all out, so they're all yours. Have a good trip.
Loco number 1 chugs out of Strahan, back towards Queenstown. But have the team managed to keep the train on schedule?
We've got 3 minutes to spare. I think there's a lot of pride that comes into it. We put a lot of effort, and it's a matter of bite the bullet, get in there, do the job, and get it over and done with.
Meanwhile, in Queenstown, Loco number 5 is arriving on its final leg. The vintage steam engine has conquered the mountain once more. For steam lover Barry, it's the end of yet another successful day in the best seat in the house.
I intended to retire 4 years ago. Didn't happen. I've picked up one of the best driving gigs in Australia. Fantastic.
To him, the steam train is more than just nuts and bolts.
Probably the closest thing that human beings have built that behaves like a human being. Cantankerous, bad-tempered, easy to get along with, bad to get along with, gives you a good day, gives you a bad day. It's just a unique machine. That's what makes them so attractive.
favourite part of the job is being with the tourists every day. I think some people only expect a train ride, but they get much, much more than that.
It's the last leg of the All Stations Challenge.
Still a race to be won.
The Marathon Men train enthusiasts have hit the wall. All three are struggling with fatigue and errors.
I won't be able to do the City Circle Loop and Bondi Junction relay that I was expecting to do before going to Barara. I'll cut one of those out.
Time for one last push.
So just jump on this train and hope for the best.
By late afternoon,
Made it to Macarthur.
Ben's feeling more confident about victory.
This is good. This is working out better than I thought it would.
Grandmaster John has also found a way to catch up time.
Now I've planned out my backup and I can still finish at Central with a loss of only 19 minutes to my original time.
The battle to conquer the network and the other competitors continues.
This is the crunch, make or break time. The train to Waterfall should be waiting there at the platform for me. Moreover, this train should go into the platform right next to it. If either of those things don't work, then I'm done. Now. Thank goodness for that.
I've just had an update from John, so it seems all three of us are all ferreting around down south here.
The All Stations Challenge is in its 16th non-stop hour. Win or lose, it will all come down to the wire. Their final stop, back at Central Station.
Still on my run from Waterfall back towards the city, just past Mortdale Station. When I get to Central, I have a snowflake's chance of beating Colin on time.
Well, here we are at Sydenham, the last of the changeovers to be done. So we're looking at finishing at 24 minutes past 10.
But where's the outsider, Ben?
178 stations.
The others can't be seen. It seems the young pretender has won the day. Or has he? Colin, the champ, is already here. 17 hours, 8 minutes, 11 seconds.
Well, not as good as I originally hoped for, but better than expected at the end. Photo of the time. Just over 17 hours. Looks like I've won today.
Congratulations,
Welcome.
well done. Yeah.
You made it though. Well done.
20, yes.
And I thought to myself, if I got on time like everyone else did, I'd come last. But no, second's good.
Absolutely had fun. It's an achievement to finish, even though it's not the time that I wanted. I reached the top of the mountain.
To the victor, the spoils.